Hi, I'm Jonathan Bojarski, founder of Saxophonisto.com. Welcome to this special Mummery String Band edition of the series, where I talk with some of the creative minds who have helped to shape that distinctive string band sound into what it is today. Many of these folks are personal heroes of mine, immensely talented individuals who often work behind the scenes to create the incredible productions showcased at the annual Mummers Parade in Philadelphia. In today's interview, I speak with Tom King. Tom is a legend in the Mummery String Band community. He began his career with the Garden State String Band in 1959, playing banjo alongside other members of his large family. In 1971, Tom joined the Ferko String Band, later serving as drill director until 1985. In 1986, Tom moved to the Woodland String Band, where he also served as drill director. It was at this point where he also began arranging music. 8 years later, he put his new skills to use as music director and arranger at the Hegeman String Band, before returning to his roots with Woodland in 2004, where he remains to this day. All told, Tom has written over 40 New Year's Day musical scores for over a dozen string bands. A truly inspiring resume and a truly inspiring individual. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Tom King. Tom, it's really a pleasure to be able to talk with you today. It goes without saying that you are one of the cornerstone members of string bands, and you have a tremendous history with so many bands, so much respect from all of us, and you've contributed so much to what we do over the years. It's really a pleasure and an honor to speak with you, and I just wanted to talk with you about some of your history with the bands and how you got started and where you came from, and how you got to do what you do, and how you learned it and how you refined it. And I've known you for a long time, and it's really a thrill for me to be able to talk with you. So thanks for being here.
Well, it's glad to hear from you. I mean, you've been out of the picture for a while. I haven't seen you, but when you were involved, you wrote Uptown, and I remember Papa Spells, that number you wrote, and a lot of bands got it, and it was tremendous arrangement. You did some nice stuff yourself, buddy. Believe me,
we had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun. Tom, tell me a little bit about how you got your start in Mummery. Where did you begin, and where and when? And let's go back to the beginning.
Well, you got a lot of memory on that thing here.
I got a big hard drive.
Yeah. I started, my father, he was the captain of Garden State. My uncle was in there, and my other uncle played drums. My other uncle played clarinet. It was a whole family thing in Garden State String Band. So when I was 7 years old, I was playing ukulele, and my cousin Jimmy had taught me how to play ukulele. And then I remember one Christmas, my grandmother couldn't wait, and I think I was like 8, because I turned 8 after the year in February. So it was that Christmas. She said, look on top of the mantle. And I looked, I said, oh, thanks. It was a set of banjo strings. Well, I used to put banjo strings on a ukulele. It sound better. And I said, oh, thanks for them. She said, no, they're for your banjo. She said, go in a closet. And I pulled out, and it was my first banjo.
Oh.
So when I was 8 years old, I joined Garden State, and I was playing in there. And my first year out playing there was 1959. That was my first year. And like I said, it was a family thing. It just, my brothers, they start playing. They came in. My cousins now even my sons. One plays with Fralinger, and for his regular job, he plays with Split Decision, which is a well-known band on the East Coast. And my other son plays drums with Hegeman, but he also plays guitar, and he does a single vocal by himself. My daughter, she dances, and she came in and was a dancer many years with Hegeman, and I think once with Duffy. So we sort of kept it in the family. I got one son, he nothing to do with it. He's sports. That's Alice. He had nothing to do with music at all. he loves sports. So, like I said, it's still going in with my family, and I hope it goes in. You know, when my son just got married Saturday, and he wants children. I hope it goes in. You know, it keeps it going. You know, because it's
Sure.
pretty impressive. You know, all the people in my family I have played. So, yeah.
So where'd you go from Garden State?
Garden State, I went over to Ferko String Band. I was 71. I went there, and that band just impressed me. They were just, you know, they're just an unbelievable band. And I went over there, and I had a mindset to hang around with the older guys. I watched how much fun they had, and it was all clean fun. Don't get me wrong. And they were so enjoyable, and I learned so much from these guys. I really, truly did. I learned so much. I was like, I guess 23 when I went there, so I was still young. You know, I was still young. And it was like I said, I learned off of them. And then there was music directors like John Gilbert and Bill DeBias that wrote for the band. And man, those two guys, and John Gilbert, he was, I don't know if you know John or not. I don't know. He was a drill master of Ferko when I joined. And just the march behind him was like, wow. You know, he was, and I sort of took after him. I made myself look like him, I guess. I don't know. He never smiled at the band. He was very strict and straight, you know. That's the way I was with it. I want to back up, though. I forgot the big part about it. Before I even went to Ferko, I went on the road playing music. And I did that for about 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we made it out to Vegas. We started a hotel. And I met, but like with Charlie Gracie, I played with him. He's a big guitar player.
Sure.
And, yeah, he's very big. I played with him. We were like the house band on the Jerry Blabbett show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and back at that time, they didn't have DJs. They didn't have that kind of thing. So, like, we would meet Tuesdays at Channel 10, whatever it is, on City Line Avenue. And then we meet Thursdays, and we would cut the music. All right, but we would be in a room like Chubby Checker, the Supremes, Frankie,
Wow.
these big stars, and we be playing back in their songs up for them, like the Twist, Chubby Checker. And I met so many people that they wouldn't know me, right? But I met them, Diana Ross and all. And even on the road, though, Frank Sinatra Jr. we worked with, and Pearl Bailey at the Old Latin Casino. So I was around doing a tour, and the funny part about it is when I quit, and I was in Garden State, and I just got tired of the road, and I missed string bands. I really did. You know, I always went up New Year's Day, but I wasn't there through all the rehearsals. So I remember when I quit, and this is probably off the subject, but it's a funny story. Jim Dunny had got me a job at Food Fair, and I'd be washing chicken fat out of trailers. You know, I saw it out of $2.75 an hour, or whatever it was back in '69, something like that, '68. So I'm telling these guys, you know, that I played with Frank Sinatra Jr. and I played. They're saying, yeah, right. You know, I'm sitting there washing chicken fat out of. You know, and they're looking at me and say, yeah, look at this guy, you know. And I couldn't prove it, you know. The only guy that knew it was Marty Bowl, which was a bass horn player in Ferko. And we were on the road together. He was the drummer. And then my brother Joey, he knew it because I introduced him to like Liberace, Jerry Val, you know. So I knew a lot of these people, and it was a pretty good feeling. It was just very lonely. So that's why I got out of that. And so I went over to Ferko, as you asked me. And I was there, I think, like 16 years, 17 years, something like that. And I went in 71 and 76, I became the drill master. Okay, John Gilbert had retired. And me and Billy, actually, drill master Bill Spezia. And I did that till 86, something like that. Then 87, I went over to Woodland. Now, Woodland was struggling a little bit back at that time, you know. And I always say this, right? They've been in the top 10, okay, since the day I went over there. But it wasn't all me. I mean, I went over, I had my ideas, I knew what I wanted to do. I brought a lot of Ferko ways over there, the sternness and the stiffness and the discipline. But there was also, like my brother Joey, Tommy Donahue, which was the musical director, Bobby Cunningham, which Bobby Corkin, Tommy Loomis, all these guys, we all sat down. And nobody thought that me and Tommy Donahue could get together because we were both a little hard at it. Well, we proved them wrong, you know. And my first year there, they got 6th prize, which was, holy Jesus, you know. And then the following year, 7th prize. And they stayed in the top 10 ever since. But even when I left, I did leave in 92, and I went to Hegeman. And that's when I actually start writing for string bands. And I think my first year I wrote for them was 94. And I stayed there for 11 years, and then I went back to Woodland. I've been in Woodland now back 17 years, something like that. You know, but it's, you know, I had a heck of a string band career. I had only 4 bands, but really I was impressed with each band that I belonged to. There was something about like Hegeman's music. They had a lot of girls, but they were the best of the pack. John, I'm telling you, these kids were players, man, and they wanted. You could taste that they had, and I could write for them and do. And we got first prize in '95, first prize arrangement, music arrangement, and we got 3rd in '96. I think it was 2nd prize music arrangement, and the same thing with Fralinger, the religion we did. And they were players. They were players. And, you know, it's writing. You're only as good as who you write for. You know, and I'm a firm believer in that, you know. I mean, if we don't have the horses, don't write like John Wernega and them guys. Don't write like that, because if they don't have the horses, they're not going to play. You know, I'm a firm believer in that. You know, write for the band. You know what I mean? That's, you know, but like I said, they're the 4 bands I belong to. And I got a lot of memories with each and every one of them. You know,
such a great history, and so many different experiences I know over the years. I just want to go back a little bit more and hear about your years doing drill master with Ferko before we move into, you know, your writing history. So what were you doing? What themes were you involved with developing with Ferko? Were you developing all the themes in the with the theme committee in the 80s, yeah. Early 80s?
My first year as drum master was 77.
Okay.
I was the showboat. And that was the first time I was really upset. I was never on a committee or nothing there. The word spread around that I had ideas, and I started to know guys and stuff like that. And guys wanted me, you know. So they, but some guys wanted Bill Spetzel also, because Bill was the assistant at that time. So we talked, and the president talked to us and said, can you guys unite and be co-drill masters? I said, I don't have any problem with it. It wasn't about the glory, it was about the ideas, you know. And so I started out that year, and it's a funny story with that, because that was me and Billy's first year, and we got 3rd prize. Well, we got first prize music, and we got first prize presentation at that time. So, you know, that was pretty wow, you know. And from that on, that was a show. But I think that's what really kicked the new image of Ferko off. You know, 2 guys out front, a great captain, and it was a little bit different than the way John Gilbert looked. You know what I mean? With 2 of us out there. And then we went on to MGM. I got 6th prize. I really didn't do good. The next one was the Hobos.
Oh, sure.
We just had moved to our club in Bridesburg and everything, and we were a little low on money, you know what I mean? So they talked about taking a hobo team out. So Jimmy May was our costumer. Jimmy May refused to build a hobo suit for us. He said, I'm not Ferko. I can't see Ferko in hobo suits, you know. So he didn't want to do us. So we got Ben and Bob. And, you know, we seen the suit. A couple guys said, why don't we put a yellow daisy up there? You know, and Tom Ferry, God rest his soul, he figured out how to do it, put it in the tube with, you know, and get it in your back. And, you know, and when I lined that band up New Year's Day, and those daisies were perfect, you know, they were perfect.
Must have been awesome. Must have been awesome.
And, you know, well, when we're walking around, we used to meet at St. Monica's, and we're walking around, we walk up to Oregon Avenue, we make a left and go down to Broad. My cousin Jimmy, he didn't march that year, and he's looking, he said, you better play a lot of music and do a lot of drilling, because you do a lot of dancing, because that suit ain't going to make it. But it did. It was tremendous. Like, once we went into our routine, the people went nuts. They absolutely went nuts, because it was just like, do whatever you want, you know what I mean? I mean, that's the first time I actually tell people, guys in the band, because I think the parade was canceled that year for something, and it went the following week, whatever the heck it was. And it was a beautiful day. And there was a cheesesteak place, like on a corner of Broad and Oregon, you know. Said, guys, you want to get a cheesesteak or something? Go, you know, you got time, because who cared if it dripped down your suit? You know what I mean? It's like one of them kind of things. But we got second prize with that, and I'll tell you what, that was another, like, people said, holy Moses. Then the show we put on Convention Hall, and it was like touch and go with Ferko, because Ferko was a well-disciplined band. And when I say they were, I speak of yesteryear and this year. Yeah, I mean, two different bands. Back then, they wanted discipline. They joined that band for me to tell them, I want you to stand in a single file. If your mother comes up, you don't talk to her. That's what they wanted. That's why they joined Ferko. That's what they wanted to do. You know what I mean? And they were very disciplined. So when we did the Hobos, okay, down in Convention Hall, we wanted to roll a half a beer out and play roll out the barrel. Whoa, 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 where are we going with this? You know what I mean? That was like, well, we did it. And it was clean, you know what I mean? And everybody enjoyed it. So the committee and president, the old timers said, no, you did a good job. You guys did a good job. And I mean, the opening of that show, everybody was laying on top of one another. When the lights went on, there was a huge pile of guys, you know, and they're trying to get up one by one. Oh my God. And then the following year was the Tin Pan Alley, which was, we came in second. And that's a funny story with that. Ferko and Fralinger were really great friends. And we used to go to picnics together, play softball games together. Whoever won had to buy the half, you know. And we had tailgate parties with them in Convention Hall, and we were really good friends. So that year there, we're in Massachusetts. Ferko used to go away 13 days every other year. And we're in Massachusetts, so our president stayed home, and he picked the prize. Now, what do you hear this? He picked 21, okay? Fralinger picked 12. Speed changed with that because he thought our suits would look better in the sun.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Saying, why did you do that? My God. So here, think about the numbers, all right? We were 21, they were 12, 1, 2. The prizes came in, 1, 2. You know what I mean? Like, but Fralinger was good. Fralinger did the Cowboys that year. And to me, that could have either went either way. They both were tremendous. Great shows. And then that was the start of Mike Rare really coming into the picture. Mike Rare, God, I utmost respect for that gentleman. Then the following year, we did G.I. Jive. It was the Army. and that's where I called the cadence. And our show, we rode in on a Jeep, okay, and we were supposed to get disqualified and punished and all that stuff. It didn't. We were actually illegal in what we did. Okay, Bill Spetzel should have been suspended, which he was. Okay, we were legal. The band was. And anyway, we're getting booed and all that stuff. So I'm telling the band, I put a show on a convention hall like nobody's business because I knew I didn't want our band to get down. Well, we went in there and we boo, and then you hear the boos coming because they have them coming on into the bullpen. It's all guys down, and you're hearing the boos out loud. By the time we got done to that show, every night in that bullpen, the kids were on the shoulders of everybody looking at that show. And we went upstairs and we got a standing ovation every blessed night. Till it was a point, Jim Dungy, which was president then, Jim Dungy said, you're going to have a big fine. There's a lot of money in fines back then. And I said, Jim, this ain't our fault. I said, you come upstairs and you'll hear what I'm talking about. If I blow the whistle, you wouldn't hear it. So sure enough, he went up. I seen him. And that crowd was nuts. If I would have blown the whistle, they wouldn't even be able to hear it. That's how loud it was. Then the following year was 82. That's when we won first prize, with the Bowery. And I was like one of my all-time favorites. I was not going to win first prize, but it was good. It was good. Then the next big one. Well, then we did the Dixie, and then we did the Professor Silly Symphony, the Animal Theme, which was another good one. I enjoyed immensely playing that character, and that got second prize. And then the following year was Mimes, and that was my last year with Ferko. So that was my tenure through all that time,
What a great tenure. That was a real heck of a run, and some great stories and great fun along the way. Tom, I'd like to shift gears a little bit and ask you a little bit about, talk to you a little bit more about the music that you've done. Obviously, you have seems like the first half of your career was very drill oriented, and then the second became very music and drill and theme oriented. So you kind of expanded beyond the drill side of things. So
anyway,
I'd like to shift gears a little now and talk a little bit about your writing. And you started writing in the early 90s. What made you want to learn to arrange for bands? And when exactly did you start?
When I was in Ferko, I was my mom was set for a drill master, and it was. But I watched John Gilbert, and he used to drill the band and write the music, and the man just impressed me so much. He's I still idolize that guy. And Bill Tobias, the music that he wrote for Ferko, it was very easy, block harmony, but it was that sound that they knew how to write that sound. Nothing heavy like Fralinger, nothing like that, and very smooth. And I used to listen to that, and I tried so many times. I used to pull some guys over, try this number, and God in heaven, I just rip it up. It was, and I think every music director probably went through that. We tested the waters to see how to write things, and I didn't want to really pester people, and so, but what had happened when I went to Woodland, Tommy Donahue helped me out a lot. Like I asked him questions, like split parts. I never knew what split parts were. I had not a clue. And like I would look at some of his music, and you see, they say the third out, or we'll say the tenor. It would be one tenor part, but to be a top and bottom,
Sure, yeah.
I felt that was very hard. Why would you do that? Like, that's very hard to read. So I'd rather have a 10 or 2 and a 4. You know what I mean? And just separate them parts, even though some bars are playing the same thing. But when it's time to hit the 7 chords and stuff like that. But that's the way they did it, But I learned how to do that, and it was pretty cool, you know. And Herbie Smith was a guy that I think everybody tried to copy after. You know, he just developed a sound. And again, these are all the reasons why I want to write. You know, and Ray Malik, that man, he was just incredible. And so anyway, looking at all these guys and look at what they did, I went to try to do the same thing. You know, I worked at it and worked at it until finally it was 1989. I had my first number I wrote years and years ago. I think it was 89, something like that. Yeah, years and years ago. And it sounded good. And I said, I got it.
That was even recorded on the, if I remember correctly, on one of the Association albums, the 1990 Association album. And it's a great arrangement. One of my favorites, actually, when I was a lot younger. I remember hearing that.
Well, it's funny because now I rewrote it for Woodland because now it was Woodland's arrangement, okay, and it faded out. It faded out, like, you know, from copying, recopying, and copying, you know. And I said, how are you guys reading this? You know, and I know it's stuff from. So I found the original arrangement right down there in my basement. I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to redo this arrangement. And I did, and they threw it out. I don't know, the other one's better, you know what I mean? So I rewrote the other one, you know. But yeah, I mean, that was my first year, and I figured out how to do things. And then I start going on to, like, how hard can I get? You know, what can I do? So, you know, I found out, look, there's songs that I wrote that I ripped up, you know, and just rewrote them again, you know what I mean? And
I think everybody's had that experience, right? Who's done writing over the years.
Yeah, and but, you know, I just love writing music. I love writing music. I really do. I love putting on a show, don't get me wrong, but music, I think, more is my passion now than the drill area, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you sit there and you write something and you're hearing it come back at you, and you're seeing faces of guys saying, no, it's an A, right? And they're all, you know, you can see they're excited, you know, that you're hanging too much on that note, you know, and that's a great thing to see, you know, and music just makes people happy, you know, it really does. And don't get me wrong, when you write a bad set, don't make them happy, you know what I mean? But that's what I do, you know, I love it.
So you started tinkering with writing in the late 80s, I guess, then? Were you even in the Ferko days, or was it Woodland when you really started doing some writing?
I played around with a couple songs, but I never put them up to Ferko. But when we were, like, on that 13-day trip, I get a couple room. I said, can you try this? You know, Jerry Crompton was one of them, and he used to help me out a little bit, you know. And so I started there, but I actually, my main time writing this song was for Woodland, you know. And then we did that when we did years ago, that was the L'Chaim year. That was the L'Chaim year. Then the following year, all right, we did the Gangsters, and we went out a little bit cheap because we moved into our new club on 2nd Street and stuff like that. And Ray Malik was still our arranger, but we couldn't afford to pay him for the extra 4 minutes in Convention Hall. So I used to write that 4 minutes.
Oh, so that was you. You did that stuff.
Yeah. That 3 minutes, whatever ever came to.
Yeah.
I start like the Shoe Shine Boy with the Gangsters and all.
Yeah, I remember that now. I remember playing the show down there, and I love that set. I love that Gangster set. I've got to go back and find my old tapes and listen to some of that pre-show stuff that you did.
Yeah. The first 3 minutes, I think we did Bad Leroy Brown.
Of course, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then the mimes. I did the very first 3 minutes of the mimes, which is pretty neat. Only make believe. We played into a fast sing, 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 whatever it was, And so yeah, so then I start feeling a little bit better, on writing. But I still didn't know, and I'll get into this later. Theory. I just and I'm guessing things. I'm like signatures and And I remember Chris Stosh. He said, "All right, Tommy's got this number," and he said, "I never seen anything like this." I mean, it was like, I don't blame him, but as I learned, then I asked him I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, Tom," he said, you got to put your key signatures in here and this and that, I said, "All right, So like I said, I learned a lot from a lot of different people, and the rest is me, I guess.
Well, you clearly have a great ear, because if you're saying you didn't have much theory background, but the stuff that you have put together over the years that have some really beautiful reharmonizations and really nice sounds. I mean, that's really that's just some inherent natural talent and good ear. It's really, really remarkable.
That's basically what it is. As I remember talking to Herbie, and I was telling him, I said, I don't write off of the lead sheet, because I truly, I don't know, guys don't understand it, and I don't understand it. Like, I could never sit, if I was a sax player, and play that music. I couldn't do it, If I was a bell player, I couldn't do it. A bass player. I write the bass part, but I don't know it. And they say, how the hell do you write this stuff and you can't play it, or you can't file it? I said, I can't. I just can't. And I guess that comes from theory and learning music the right way. I just did what my whole family was that way. Everything we did, we picked up by ear. I never played a note of music until I joined Ferko. That's when I had to learn. All right. And I always played guitar style banjo. And to join there, you had to play tenor style banjo. In 3 weeks, I learned how to play tenor banjo, and learned how to read music, chords, and how many counts a bar and all that stuff. It's the first time I read in my life. And I went over there and I passed the test playing banjo, But my advice to anybody would be theory. And I know that. Theory. And, Herbie and Ray, these guys know theory. Wernega, he's a monster. And Chris Farr, these guys are just unbelievable, But if I was to give anybody advice, it'd be learn it the right way. Because I wish I could, sit right. Like when I bring up a song, like I pulled up Bandstand, and it was my own arrangement, you know what I mean? And it was hard. It was a hard arrangement. And when I bring it up, I depend on you to play it, because I can't teach it. I don't know that when to breathe and when not, all that junk. I don't know all that.
Wow.
And the guys trying to say, don't worry, we got your back. We got your back. And they do. And they figure it all out themselves. And man, it comes out tremendous. I let Frank Harris take a couple of my numbers, and he'll do what he feels that he should do it with crescendos and things like that. And it's good. It comes out good. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's really something else. I can't believe what you have been able to pull off without the theory background and without, just the traditional music education that people, but it's you would never know it listening to your stuff. It's like, oh my, I was listening in preparation for talking with you today, some of this stuff, and I remember when I was a lot younger, I was blown away by these things, and it's gotten even more refined over the years, what you've done. That you just sent me that cowboy thing. I was like, man, that's great stuff. The cowboy thing you wrote for Hegeman. I mean, do you play piano, Tom? Are you a piano player?
I have a piano sitting right here. It's right there. But I don't know what I'm doing on it. In other words, if I'm going to write Babyface, you know, all right. Now I hear the harmony right there. That's the way I do it.
Yeah.
And each chord, I hit everything that I hear. That's the way I do it. And the funny part about it, Ricky Tierno and Ross Hofnagel. I don't know if you've heard of Ross Hofnagel.
Yeah, oh, sure. Yeah.
That's the way God rest his soul. Great gentleman. And he's watching me. And now you got to visualize it. Here's the piano. I hit my chords here, and my bass line, I crisscross my hand, and I'm doing the bass here. I said, what the hell are you doing? I said, you have to do it. So I am like, you're people tell me, they say, Tom, can you teach me music? No. you don't remember my style.
Unbelievable.
Me. It's really the truth, yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, this is a good time, I think, just to kind of go through everything that you've done. I mean, I'm blown away. When I saw this list today, I'm going to just try to screen share here. These are just New Year's scores that you've written.
Yes.
This is not even all the street tunes you've written, but my goodness, I was amazed. I mean, you go back, so your first year was 94 writing routines.
Yes.
And that year you did Aqua, you did Hegeman, and you did Trilby. Three bands that year.
Right.
And then in 95 you did the Hobos. Great show. Super energetic. First prize arrangement. Amazing. Man, you just came out of the barn doors and just blew them off. Unbelievable. And Gangsters. Oh my God, Gangsters. That was just a great show. I mean, we did 20s. A 20s theme with Uptown, and I was re-watching some of your stuff from the Gangsters year, and that was just a great, the Charleston in the very end. Woo, yeah. So much energy. Great show. And it just goes on and on. I mean, you've written for Durning and Uptown, of course, you've done stuff, and Trilby, and just goes down the line. And then, you know, the stuff you've done for Woodland, Broomall. I'm just shocked at how much you've done. I think it's 41 routines, and that's not even taking into account the street tunes you've done. So I think it's just really great to look and reflect on all you've done. And again, we're all grateful to you for bringing all that great writing to our craft. You know, it's just really awesome. What are some of your favorite routines that you've written? Which ones do you think turned out the best in your mind? Not necessarily the winning ones, or maybe they were, but which ones were you most proud of?
I like I like that cowboy one I sent over to you. They just couldn't play it. It was a little too hard for them. You know what I mean? They didn't have the horses, you know. I did love the 3 years, just the main 3 years with Hegeman, the 95, 96, and 97. I enjoyed those years. I thought they were pretty good. I truly try to like everything that I write, because if I don't like it, I'll let the band know. And there's a couple times I said, listen, I said, I'm writing this is the way you want it. I said, this ain't the way I would write it. You know, and I did it. You know, sometimes you got to do what they say, because that's the order of the show. Well, they don't know that maybe this song don't fit there. You know what I'm talking about. This fits better here. You know, so you build up to that. You know what I mean? And like I said, there's a couple times I didn't like what I wrote, because I wrote what they wanted me to write. But if I wrote what I felt, I would never ever give anything to anyone if I didn't, like it. And I think the biggest thing I try to do is I don't overwrite for the bands. I mean, like you got John Wernega and you got Chris Farr, they can write. But you know what? Depends what band they give to. If they give it to a weaker band, that weaker band is not going to cut that music. It's not going to happen. And be is crisp and, as they are, how they play it. And they run around. all over the place, So I'm a firm believer, right for what you got,
Well, with that in mind, Tom, I mean, I look at this diverse array of bands you've written for, and bands, and then bands through the years, which some years, certain bands were really solid and then they weren't as strong. How did you learn what you had to work with? Would you go to rehearsals before you'd start writing routine, listen to what the horn section sounded like, listen to what the talent pool was like, and get a feel for what you needed to do in advance?
A lot of times I brought up a street song, and just, it's mediocre, and let them play it. And if they could play that, then I knew I knew how much I could, how hard I could write the routine. You know what I mean? And, in fact, Uptown, I come up with a couple songs with Uptown, and when I wrote the Mexican theme, that they really sound good that year. They were really good that year. And I remember testing them a little bit, seeing how much they did, but you used to write some great stuff for them too, and like I said, I try to bring numbers up to bands and get an idea at first, and I don't want to name names, but there are some weaker bands. You just can't, you got to write goose eggs, you know what I mean? It's bottom line, because first of all, when you get on their feet, it's another story, So, I mean, there's some bands that I wrote for, they might have 10 good players, maybe 15 good players, okay? But then come around New Year's time in December, they'll have 10 more guys come in, like, just play. Yeah, so, I try to get an idea, and I write for the band. That's the best way I could explain it. You know what I mean?
Certainly one of the most challenging things I've found writing for smaller bands is being able to make something sound good with a smaller band, but yet sort of push the band to the limit of what they can do, so they're challenged, but not have it fall apart. And I think you've done a really great job of making that work with, again, all this array of bands through the years. It's really pretty impressive. So your writing style, how do you think people would describe your style if they say, Tommy King, what in a few words, like what would they say about a Tommy King arrangement? I'll tell you what I would say. I would say fun, energetic, traditional, nice harmonies. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like your style is very recognizable as very fun and something that's always toe tapping.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents for you, but I don't want to step in what you're.
I mean, you're right. You use different words I would use, but I always try to make it fun. I always try to make another band say, "Wow," was always my goal, to have another band say, "Wow, boy." I did Duffy one time. I think I got like 10 prizes the first time, and they really sound good. They sound good. That's another band right there. I mean, years ago, you couldn't bring too much hard stuff up to them, but today they're starting to catch in there. You know what I mean? They're starting to be good. So, but I mean, no, you're. That's a fair statement, I guess. I try. I got a thing written down here. Did you have fun arranged? Did you have any failures? That question. And every band I wrote for, okay, they all said, "Wow, this is neat. This is good," until they get the prize. Then when they get the prize, now
Right.
they say, "This is bad." Well, wait a minute. You should have told me it was bad before New Year's. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. So everybody's happy with what they get. And if they get a good prize, all right, Tommy King, if they get a bad prize, we got to switch. We got to get a new, wait a minute. You liked it when I brought it in. And that's what you wanted. You asked for everything. That's what you wanted. So, and how writers are like costumers, they'll always come back somewhere. You know what I mean? So
Exactly. It can be very, very challenging, no question. If
Mhm.
the prize is good, then it was a great arrangement, and if it wasn't, then that was the problem. I know
It was,
it's
it wasn't a player, stuff like that. It was the
right.
arrangement.
No, right, exactly. Um, well, I want to talk a little bit about your process for writing. First off, just street tunes, and then we'll talk about New Year's scores. But your process for writing a street song. Um, how do you get inspiration, and what do you think about? Do you just sitting down at the piano and start plunking something out? Do you think about it in your head? Do you structure it in your head in advance? How do you put a street song together?
More in my head. I'll be building my deck out in the backyard, and I might hear a song on the radio, and it just stays in my head, and it won't leave. And if it does stay in my head like that, then it's worthwhile really trying to do something with it, because obviously there's a reason for it. And I sort of hear the arrangement before I start playing it, okay, or before I start writing it. And as I'm writing it, I'm getting better ideas. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like some of them things that were in my head, I found something better. Because sometimes when you do something, you know what I mean, it's what you wanted. But then you're saying, God darn, if I can do that, why can't we do this? And you'll make it a little bit harder, you know what I mean? So that's the way I sort of do it. Yeah, the street songs, Yeah.
Do you ever have difficulty? One of the things I find is challenging sometimes is I have some ideas and I really want to put them in, but I know I'm writing them for a band that may not be able to do them. And you have to kind of reach that happy medium, right? It's like, you want to do this, you want to write that line, but
can't do it. So I use the same chord progression maybe. And instead of going, you know what I mean? You got to chop the VZ alto down a little bit, and just put chords behind it, But I mean, there are certain ways to, like, I think every one of the routines that I do write, okay, put it this way. I'll watch certain bands and their altos, where I'm going to call them the VZs now, okay? They're the VZs are the ones that do all the runs. Then you have your first alto, you know what I mean? They're the VZs and are tenors, bottom maybe tenor fours. They're the workhorses right there. They're the workhorses. The in-between, it's not really that hard. I mean, it's there, but all this down the bottom and all this up top, that's where the work is, okay? And I used to watch Fralinger a lot, and don't get me wrong, they danced. They were good, but then you've seen sometimes where there was a powerful run, they would just, four of them, go right down and play the run and wouldn't move, you know what I mean? And then get back up again. But in my arrangements, I don't write like that, okay? But everybody moves, everybody does something. It's never still. You know what I mean? So that's the way I try to write. And it sort of keeps the interest of the player. You know what I mean? If you give a player a song and it's just constantly half notes and whole notes, and there's no challenge for that guy. So I try to work it in there, you know what I mean? Where like when I have the lead alto going goose eggs up, I'll have the thirds down, they're doing something, then they'll hold the goose egg and the tenor will start, you know what I mean? You try mixing it in like that, and it makes everybody sort of, wow, this is pretty neat, you know what I mean?
I think that's a great piece of advice, and that's something that Herbie mentioned to me as well. And I think it's a great piece of advice for anybody who's looking to learn how to write, that keeping interest in all the parts is something that makes it fun for everybody and challenging for everybody. It doesn't have to be a hard thing, but just interesting in some way rather than just whole notes and half notes. You're right.
You're exactly right. And I try to do that, because I mean, now, like, I brought one song up to Woodland, a little while ago. I forget what it was. I know what it was. Don't go changing, it's just the way you are. Okay, and you got the alto runs doing that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I wrote that whole thing out for the altos, and it really. But within that, the tenors are dun dun dun. You know, they're like this because you got all that stuff happening there, and you don't want to ruin that. That's a great alto solo that's done in that. So you want to keep that in there, and the chords. That's all they're doing is the chords. You know, and sometimes you say, well, yeah, hey, you have to do it. You know what I mean? So I remember Joe Bono digging that song out. Just God, maybe a couple months ago, something like that. But he dug the song out and he started playing it, and the band really got interested and everything. And he did turn around to the tenors. He said, listen, he said, I know that's pretty like easy because our tenors, we have some tenors that can read. They're just unbelievable. You know, they can read anything. And to give them something that is like, you know, they sit there and they're like, you know, so Joe turned around and said, look, he said, but it sounds fat. Trust me, it sounds fat. He said, when this is happening, I know you're only doing this small little background. He said, but that's what you are, is a background. So sometimes you have to write. You know what I'm talking about. You know, you can't open things when you want something to stand out.
Right. You want something to stand out. You can't overwrite the whole thing. Right. But I think your point of just in general trying to give it some interest to everything somewhere along the way is important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to switch a little bit and talk a little bit about New Year's scores and how you do your New Year's score writing. Just thinking about the score itself, how do you prepare for a routine? How do you research it? How do you kind of put your ideas together? And then, you know, we can kind of go from there. But when you're starting to develop a routine, where do you start? Do you listen to a bunch of music related to the theme? How do you collect your ideas?
What I normally do is, there's two different styles, okay, but I'll go with the newest one right now because I'm not a musical director. I'm just a musical writer. So Uptown wants to do Mexicans. So they call me up and we have a meeting with Uptown. I have a meeting with them. I sit down, they kick around ideas. And sometimes it's good that I was a drum master because I can see the show and write the music for that piece, that part of it, you know what I mean? But we'll sit around, kick around ideas, and we'll form a list of songs. It might be about 20 of them. And I will ask them, can I have the privilege of putting these songs where I want it? And I'll give it to you in plenty of time for you to put your show together. Now, you know, when you're doing Mexicans, come on, there are certain songs you know where it's going to be your finale. You know, you can say it, you know. But and I know that. I know where to put that. But it's easier. I found myself writing better when I can do it freehanded. In other words, I can have the contraband of writing all these numbers the way I would feel them. That's what I was getting back to earlier. But when you tell me this is what you want, this is what you want, this is what that, you know, all right, you know, how much of this do you want? And it'll say, we only want 15 seconds of this. Well, man, 15 seconds ain't enough of this number to really feel good, you know. So that's the way I do. And when I can do it myself, okay, then I'll start searching arrangements. I have records and like old string band albums, and I'll start throwing them on. And if somebody wants all of me, you know, I'll try to find arrangements for all of me, and I can use a piece of that. You know what I mean? I'll try to get the best piece out of that so people will know what it is. I think that's one of the things I always liked about my music. You know exactly what I was playing. Today's music, I don't know what they're playing. They play it well, but I don't know what the heck they're doing, you know. And that's not just me. That's a whole lot of guys. You know, so to me, I like to know what you're playing, You know what I mean? And then I can get a better idea and say, well, that's pretty good. That's good. He did that great or whatever, you know? So.
Now, do you like to, when you're writing, do you like to start from the beginning of the routine and work your way through in chronological order? Do you like to skip around? Do you write a finale first? Does it just kind of change from year to year, whatever inspires you?
I write from song to song to song to song, knowing that I'm going to do Malaguena for the ending. I got to keep that in mind because that's got to be the powerhouse there. So whatever I'm writing, I don't want it to be any bigger than this. You follow what I'm saying? So I already have that arrangement in my head where the way I'm going to do it, but I didn't put it on paper yet because I know how it's going to go. So as I'm writing, I'm doing song for song, song for song. And you try to change it up with your tenor lead, you know, and your banjos, and you know, and you try to give everybody solos, this and that. I never really had the band to do like bass solos. I never had the band to do. I'm a bass player. That's what I do. But I never wrote like a bass part because I mean I wrote bass parts. I mean, wrong, well, not bass solos. And like we used to have like one bass fiddle, two bass fiddles. Well, come on, I ain't gonna do a solo with that, you know. Yeah, and so yeah, I take it song by song, and I hear better, and I can get an interlude that to bring me into that next number, and it just feels. It's got to feel good in my heart. It's got to feel good. You know what I mean? It's got to be to the point where I can't wait to call you up and let you hear this. You know, and I do that all the time. I'll write maybe 2 minutes of the score, and I'll call them up and tell them to come down here and listen. Is this what you want? How do you like this? Oh, we love it, Tommy. We love it, love it. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to write the second half. That's the way I do it. You know, I've always done that the way because it's easier. And you know, by writing, when you're writing a score, if they don't like something in the middle, that's the hardest thing that you got to take out. You got to take that song out and try and get another song in there. And that key just might not be right for the altos. And so, or I'll put a tenor lead on, but it's still not right for the alt. You know, it's like, it's the hardest thing that people don't understand that. When you got to pull a song, when it's flowing so great, all of a sudden you just, or you hear something that came out on the radio and you want to put it in there. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
But yeah, you know.
And how and if the band says, oh, we don't like the flow here, we want you to change the vibe, it's like, oh, that really hurts, right?
Oh yeah, it's well, you know what hurts too, if you're talking about hurting, is like I say, I let everybody hear the music all the time. You know, if I got a minute and a half or something like that, I'll play it over the phone for them, or I'll ask them to come in and take a look at this and that, and they like it. Then all of a sudden, the band starts playing it, and he can't play it. You know, and now they're blaming the arranger. Like I said, you know, listen, you got to step it up something. You got to step it up a little bit. You can't just keep playing whole notes, quarter notes. You got to step it up. You know, and as like I said earlier, you'll have. I've had bands where I'm sitting there with 15 people. You know what I mean? And that's like every rehearsal, 15, 12 people. And how are you going to compete with that? How do I write for that? You know, how do I write for that? How do I write knowing how many people are you going to have? What are you going to have? They don't understand. Like when you're writing, I guess don't write it to VZ because it's senseless. I got to just write it first out there. All you have is 3 of them. You know what I mean? Right. People don't understand it. It's very, very hard. It's very hard to write for a band, especially today. I'll give you the best thing I could say. Okay, when I was writing, okay, you had said about, oh, how do you feel, Tom King? What you say about your music? And so, remember, you said that to me. When I was writing, there were. You wake up New Year's morning, there was at least 10 or 11 bands that could win first prize. Easy. Okay. And, Overbrook, Uptown was really climbing the walls, and they were really doing great things. Okay, you had Hegeman, Polish American, had South Philly, you had Fralinger, you had Avalon, you had Quaker City. You know, these bands could win first prize the years that I wrote.
Right, right.
Ain't that way today. It ain't that
Yeah.
way. So my music, I don't know whether it fits in today's parade. Okay, but there are bands that are still writing that style of music, and I'm one of them. That, you know, hoping that one day it might connect and come back. Okay.
Well, that's the next question I have for you. You know, it's I often wonder if there will be a sort of a resurgence of the older style again. And we say older style, but I don't view it as an older style. I think it's a great, things have changed a lot over the years, but just kind of getting back to our roots with the sound. And do you think that that will happen? Do you think that they'll come back to a more of a traditional sound at all? Or do you think it'll be some kind of hybrid thing? Or
I don't think it'll ever come back to what it was. Okay. Now, I'll use an example. Like I said, I don't want to name some people. I don't understand where they're going musically. You know, I don't understand it. The judges do. I don't. And I'm not the only one. Believe me, I'm not there. There's a lot of musical talent people that say, I don't know what the hell they're doing. And you really got to stay up on the numbers they're playing, because you don't know how they're getting into them. It's, you know, but like Franny Carroll, I'll use our guy, you know, he wins every year. He's been writing 9 years. 9 years. He has 4 first prize arrangements, 4 second prize arrangements, and 1 third. And he writes for the judges. He writes for the judges, and he writes for the people. You know his music, and he does 1,000 notes, but you know what he's playing at all times, you know. And instead of putting a xylophone out there, he'll put 5. Instead of putting 4 bass fiddles, he'll put 10. You know, it's putting 1 year he'll have 24 banjo players. You know, put the horns down. That's what he does, and the judges see that and they love it. They eat it up. So Franny sort of brings it back to the parade I'm talking about. It'll never go back to Herbie like Herbie this year. Did a great job. Okay. I think that was a very hard theme for him to write space this year, you know what I mean? And you can hear the difference when Wernega finished the ending. Okay. Herbie, to me, he built a sound that nobody can copy it. Nobody can copy it. I've tried. Other people have tried. And his sound is just tremendous. Okay. But I don't think it'll ever come back to that, because if it didn't come back to that when he wrote this year, it ain't ever going to come back to that. I hope it don't go out further than what it is now, because if it does, I mean, like I heard too many people, like my mother, you know, Tommy, I don't know what they're playing. What are they doing? You know, that's sad for people like that. They just don't understand. You know what I mean? And but so to answer your question, no, I don't think we'll ever come back to that. But I think there's the way the parade's broken up now. I think it works better for all the bands, because you have that top 4, top 5. They play that music, okay, and they win every year. Then you have your next group that is the Herbie style and Ray Malik style music. You know, the 5 to 11, that's them. Then you have your next group, you know what I mean? So from 6 all the way back is my style. It's Herbie style, you know what I mean? I'm not saying Herbie couldn't. If anybody could do it, Herbie could do it, you know what I mean? Really write something. I thought that if the space thing was just a bad thing for him. You know, I don't. They should have changed themes. I thought anyway. But like I said, I mean, I respect what these bands are doing. Don't get me wrong; they're doing some hard stuff. You know, and they're like when Chris Farr writes his altos, and we're forgetting all about John Wernega. John Wernega is a monster. He's a monster, you know. And I met him. I was shopping about 3 months ago, and they have his farmers market, and I always want to go there. So I stops in by myself, and I'm hearing somebody say, "Is that the famous Tommy King? Is that, you know?" I was like, "Who the heck's, yeah?" And here's John Wernega, and he's what a talented man. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's unbelievable, isn't he?
You know, he has perfect pitch.
Yeah, just incredible.
Perfect. Yeah, he's an animal, man. And you know, I told him, I said, "Listen," I said, "you really did a nice job on the end of that the team." I said, "You can hear the difference between Herbie and you." I said, Herbie really did a great job," and I said, "You finished it off with a great job." He said, "Yeah, you know, it's like, you know." But I said, why'd you stop writing? You know. And he mentioned Franny, and he mentioned a few other writers beating him. You know, and he said, I don't understand it. I don't. Yeah, he said, what did we talk about? I really don't know. He said, "I don't understand like how Franny's beat me. You know what I mean? But he is beating me, and he does sound good. But I don't. You know what I mean? Like, so he's a little bit lost in the field today, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, but what a writer. What a writer. What a monster. He's the one that really kicked all this stuff off, man.
He did. He really changed it. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If you go back to 95, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, when Ferko was really, they were kicking. They found a chemistry, and I watched them, you know, and like they would have 6 banjo players walk right up to the judge like he's going to run them over and stop and do, and I don't know, and then here comes 6, you know. They figured out a way, and they really did a lot of alto tenor, you know, and banjo, chording, banjo.
Yeah.
And they kicked that segue off. And I guess Quaker City had enough of it. And they said, "We're going to do our thing."
Right. And they took it to the next level, right? I mean, Ferko, they had the 20s vibe there going, that 20s feel, and then Quaker kicked it to the next level.
That circus, when they came in, and they,
oh yeah,
like horns in front, and they, oh my God.
Or jungle, the percussion intro, just like.
And then the Russians was
oh my God, yeah. People weren't, you know, gonna get down on their knee and they do that. Oh my God, yeah. Just blew people away. And even, I mean, you know, then the China theme, which didn't win, but wow. I mean, that was perfection.
Well, that's the next thing. I'm going to go back a couple of years earlier there. Bill Bowen asked me if I could stop over to Fralinger and want to have a meeting with me. I said, yeah. So I stopped over, you know, and Herbie was there. The only one that wasn't there was Mike Brer. And Bill Bowen literally said, "What are we doing wrong? Why aren't we winning?" And this is, they haven't won like 18 years at this point, you know what I mean? What's your concept, you know? So I said, "Listen," I said, you got the Bulls right here. You guys are unbelievable, you know, and I know winning second isn't what you want. I said, from what I can see, I said, this is like 94, you know, what I can see is everything is coming through the center. And I'm a judge, and I'm looking, boom, judge, here it comes, boom. Nobody ever turns my head over here, or they turn my head, nobody. It's everything center. So, sure enough, that year, I did the Hobos with Hegeman, and I got first prize. You looked over here, there was nothing coming through the center, nothing at all. And they loved it. You know, Mike Brer called me up. He said, "You're right. You were right." So anyway, we're talking about Quaker City thing. Now all of a sudden, here comes Fralinger. They found a way, and they found a way, a big way. I don't think anybody will ever beat. But here's the thing about that. You bring up a good point there. China, Quaker City, oh my God. I forget what Fralinger did that year. I can't remember what the theme is. I know they were unbelievable. But there are a couple times where I'm saying Quaker's going to win.
Yeah, yeah.
All of a sudden, here comes Bill Bowen in on horses. And he took it to the next level. Bill Bowen, he's the one that brought that band to every level. In other words, if they were equal with Quaker City, it was a tie. Bill Bowen made sure it wasn't. He had a way of, you know what I mean? And I mean, Shannon, come on, man. You know, you're looking at all these masterminds, man. You guys are tremendous mummers. Mike Ware, the stuff Mike Ware pulls, wow, it's just unbelievable. I tip my hat to all these guys. I really, really do. Ray Mallet.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to, you know, talk to you guys and just kind of, I mean, it's just amazing when you think about it, and it's, you know, all that we've seen over the years. Yeah, oh, Mike Rayer. I mean, God, the year they did, Fralinger did Latin, I didn't march that year, and I was watching in front of the judges' stand, and it was just one hit after another of color. They just had confetti cannons after confetti, and this was like before confetti was really big all the time. Now it's just too much confetti all the time. But then they did it right, and it was just sensory overload and unbelievable with John Wernega's music and Mike Rayer's show. Oh my God, unbelievable, unbelievable.
And all of a sudden, Woodland comes up and they win first prize with Jungle, okay, and from there was a change. Not to foul Woodland, but there was another change in music.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Fralinger, Wernega sort of set up, he stopped. You know what I mean? Now Chris Farr has that other sound. There's not too many guys around that can write like him, as far as I'm concerned. You know, so like I said, I don't know where it's going from this point. You know, I just don't know where it's going. But I feel sorry for these kids. I really do, man, because they're playing some stuff, man. You know, and they're moving, and oh my God in heaven. But you know, I don't have to like it. I admire them, and I really, really do. I couldn't write like that. I wouldn't want to either. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to. I enjoy music. I like to hear. I like to know what you're doing. You know, I know guys can turn around and say, "You're 72." Hey, 72 has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. Okay, I still can judge a parade. You know, I mean, I know who's good and who's bad. You know, but like I said, you know, I don't think things are going back to where it used to be as much as. Funny part about it, you know, and this is probably all the bands. New Year's Day, we get our pie, we got third, this and that, and New Year's night, the parade's running. We go back Tuesday, we have our meeting with the judges, the tapes, everything, you know. After we're done, the tape's running, okay? And maybe, just maybe, the following rehearsal, they'll run the tapes again. From that point on, it's nothing but the 80s and 90s. 80s and 90s in every club. I don't care where you go. It's the 80s and 90s that they watch. Why? Okay. Number two, you go to the Mummers Museum. You could play a theme in the 80s and 90s. You play a theme today. These people, what the hell are you doing? They wouldn't even know what the hell you're playing. So everybody watches the 80s and 90s, but why are we doing the 2020s? You know what I mean? If you love that, you know, it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's really
No, it's true. Like, you know, remember at the show, when we were doing the show of shows, Fralinger would play their old routines. Like they'd play 1984. Oh, that was so great. Hearing them play 84 again with the band that they had in the 2000s and hearing that. And that's what people love, you know, when they play that stuff. They played 89 when they, you know, and it was like, to hear that with that band of the 2000s. But you're right. People go back to the 80s. That's what they love. That's where that was the sweet spot, 80s and 90s of sound. I agree.
Well, in that area, because you just said at the convention hall, I remember me being with Ferko, and we always in the top three, top four, Ferko, And this one, you had the 4 rooms in the back, where,
Oh yeah, that was great. Yeah.
That no matter what prize we got, we only went down to center aisle one time. Like other bands they go down every night, We went down one night. And everybody used to call it snubbed up, put their nose up at this and that, But we were the band people loved to hate. They loved to hate Ferko. And then when we come down that center aisle, their face would drop. Oh my God, listen to how sweet they are. The file, oh my God. It was tremendous, man. It's just, I'm just so happy to be a part of all that. Being a part of all that brings me to a part of this right here. Everything I've been through in my career, and here I sit and I'm talking to you about it, and that makes me feel special. Don't make me feel better than anybody. It just makes me feel special that I'm one of those guys. As you see, like I showed, I got like 1 billion plaques here that people had given me, but I got one that was a Lifetime Achievement Award, and when I got that was just like my whole goal in life. There's nothing else I could get that would even beat that. That's it. You know what I mean? So I am so happy to be a part of all this and being a part of you wanting to ask me things, and that amazes me. It really does, especially a guy like yourself too.
Well, you're again so inspiring to so many of us, and you are, one of our, you're one of our cornerstone members. You've made this whole thing what it is. You've created what we have today in your own way, and it's just really great to be able to talk with you and hear how that process came about. And I have tremendous respect for you, Tom, and it's really been a pleasure and an honor to speak with you. I really thank you so much for this opportunity.
I thank you so much for having me. It really, like I said, it makes me feel like $1 million.
Yeah, you're awesome. Well, thank you, Tom, and I look forward to talking again. And we'll do another round of this down the road. But it's been a real pleasure.
I'll be 102. Hey, I say one thing, and last year I stayed in front of the judges stand, but the year before that I played banjo. The year before that I played bass fiddle, and the year before that I played steel drums. And my last year actually playing, I march up the street every year with the band. I take the band up. They put me in front of the band, just plain clothes, and let me do what I do. And but 2 years last year, not last year, the year before that, I played banjo, and I did the show. I came out, I did a solo, and I came out and I danced, and I came out and I had to dance again, and I did this, and I played, and I was like, and by the end of the show, I had this friend of mine back here, Jimmy Hutton. He had oxygen for me, and if I didn't get oxygen, I would have dropped. Because I had 2 lung operations, you know that, right?
Yeah.
And they gave me oxygen, and now this one I'm running around. I did all that, and now we march down the Broad Street. I'm playing banjo all the way down out street numbers. Gets down, now we go to 2 Street. I could have done that parade all over again. I felt so good playing banjo in the front line. I felt like I'm back in the band, you know what I mean? When you're out being a musical director or drill master or something like that, it's a great honor, this and that. But, I'll give you an example. I'm marching, there's a God's honest truth. I'm on the front line, and Ricky Tanner went up to Matt Kerr, and he said, listen, he said, I want Tommy King next to me, please, playing the accordion. He said, I never had the opportunity to march with him in line. Mm-hmm. I got the banjo, and they put me here. I said, oh, hey, Rick, and Ricky said, gave me a beer, we hugged and everything. And we start walking up the street. So this, all of a sudden, we stop, and I got a beer. I said, hey, anybody want a sip? And there was this guy, Timmy Pry. Okay, very excellent horn player, and he's a very talented man. And he said, "I got to tell you something." He said, "It's an honor to welcome back to you." I said, "Wow." I said, I mean, he didn't have to say that, but just hearing, I was telling my wife the other day. I hope I'm not running overtime on you.
No, no, not at all.
I told my wife the other day. I said, when I told you earlier, when I went to Ferko, I hung around with the older guys because Woodland String Band, they just respect the older guys so much. It's just unbelievable what they do for us. Some bands, when you get too many years in there and all, they just they push you aside. And not these guys. Not these guys. They meetings like right now we're having meetings that we call on the phone, and they call me all the time. They sit and explain things to me, and it's just it's a wonderful thing to be recognized. You know what I mean? I would feel really bad if I wasn't useful in some way. You know what I mean? I thought if it's a small little idea, I still like to interject it, and it just makes me feel better. It makes me feel a part of things, I don't know what I would do if I wasn't a part of a string band. Really, I mean, right now I know we're going through this trying time and this and that, but I know one thing: we're all home. And I know one thing: when that club reopens up, we'll all be there again.
Gotcha.
And it's just I thank God of my life, my music life. And on top of that, I want to thank you. Okay, you're a gentleman's gentleman. You always were, Jonathan. You had that beautiful smile, and you do.
Oh, you're making me blush now, Tom. Look at this.
Guys respect you.
It's really it's great to have been able to work with you so much, and I look forward to doing more in the future with you. But I've had a great time talking with you, and I want to talk with you more. It's great to hear these stories, and again, great to hear this history. Thank you again for all that you've done for us.
And if you get back in town or whatever, you got my email or give me a buzz. Maybe we get together somewhere. Right?
You betcha. I'll be in touch.
Yeah. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, Tommy.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my conversation with Tom King. As always, please reach out if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions. I'd love to hear from you.